Okay, stream is live. We have 7 minutes until it officially starts. Just making sure that everything works for now. Uh, let's get the link and let's do some shameless self-promo on the HWBot Discord. Okay, link is in. Then let's keep tabs on the GTX to 60 challenge channel and just wait for people to join in. Which card I'm testing right now? That's actually a new card. It's an Asus one. I haven't tested this one before, so I have no idea how good it is. All I can say is that the stock heatsink it comes with is awful. And after some suggestions from other people, I have been told that the red palette game watt card is apparently very much the best that you can get. And Windows really does not want to resize my window right now. Would be too easy if it just worked. Alright. Okay. No, it's not a Matrix. It's a random Asus OEM card. It's the same PCB that you get on their blower, except that it has 3 capacitors that are different. So a blower doesn't actually fit on this, but it's the same layout. It's just a random Asus card that I just got because it was cheap and I saw it and I was just like, hey, that VRM looks easily moddable. So I got it. I will probably be trying to get one of the red cards with Hynix memory on it, because like apparently having Hynix memory is just better. We're going to find out today. This card right here is Samsung, and like all my cards are Samsung. I have one Hynix card, and my Hynix card is the Gigabyte card. And the Gigabyte card is really, really good at memory clocks. Problem being that the core on it is not that great. And in order to volt mod that Gigabyte card, I need to do a vid mod, and I haven't done that yet, so I can't really run it. I have, however, volt modded both this Asus card and the here it is, the other card. We're gonna run this later, we still have time. I already did some testing on this one. I can say that the core is pretty good, but like because the memory is Samsung, like for a Samsung card it's good, but if you compare it to a Hynix, it loses, which is why I want a Hynix-based game watt or palette card. Thankfully, a lot of these exist in Germany. I just need to like wait for the next month because I kind of already spent all the budget I had for this month. Yeah. We have 2 more minutes until we officially start. I'm just gonna wait around. I wonder if Hynix scales voltage. Apparently it does. I haven't tested myself, but people have been saying that you can do like 2.2 volts on it. Above it, it gets sketchy. But like the stock voltage for a lot of the cards is 2.05 volts on the memory. Not this one, actually. Like, if you look at the voltage measurement, this Asus card actually runs 1.9 volts. Which probably explains why it was so trash at memory clock when I pre-tested it. Yeah, but like, apparently you can overvolt the Hynix chips and they do well. I don't know about the Samsung ones. the only thing I know about the Samsung ones is one video that Tag made about the red Game One palette card, where he also had the Samsung HDI modules, and he said that they were fine sub-zero. So I expect them to not like have a cold bug, but he also said that he maxed out below 1300 megahertz on them, which the Gigabyte card already does more at stock without mods. Like the Gigabyte card does 1320 on the memory, just like that. Good day, sir, says ASIC. Yeah. By the way, I'm running your radiators now. So yeah, it is 59. Let's just start. So I'm doing water cooling today, mostly because I want to test out what the new radiators can do. And you basically can see that right now, because this setup has been running the test on loop for pretty much the last hour. And you can see that our GPU is at 32 degrees. So that's the water cooling setup. My ambient temperature is 21 degrees. So I would call this pretty good. And yeah, so my previous water cooling setup was a normal sized 360 and a also normal sized 240. I now have a double sized 360 and another normal sized 360. Both have push-pull fans on them. So like this water cooling setup is really strong now. And I also managed to put 2 radiators onto the backup bench as well. And I still have 2 that I haven't used yet. I've ordered some more fittings so I can make use of those as well. But yeah. Freeze mod, the block is the freeze mod. So my GPU block is the freeze mod block. I don't know if they make radiators. The radiators I'm using, the double thickness one is an EK Classic, and the normal thickness one is, oh, I forgot their name. They are that one AliExpress company that actually makes pretty good radiators. I forgot what they are called. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's just get everything started. And I'm gonna mute my alarm on my phone because it just said it's going to ring in a bit. We don't want that. So I'm gonna disable all of these. Okay, so oh, Magical, yeah, that's the name. They're called Magical. Yeah, so the second rad is a Magical one. The 2 ones I had before were also Magical rads. So they're like pretty cheap, but also decent if you want cheap radiators. Anyway, so yeah, let's get started. So I could do this, show you the test bench in full view. So this is the setup. Big fan for the, I don't actually know the name for that little extra chip that the 260 has on the left. As far as I know, it handles like display output things. Yeah, and then I have this extra fan just on the screw for the water block to cool the VRM and the first row of memory chips. And yeah, so the card is on my usual water block. So this is a freeze mod block from AliExpress. Pretty decent block. It is not lapped, and it is very not flat if you don't lap it. So it has pretty good like contact pressure, but the surface of the block could be a lot flatter. I just haven't gotten around to lapping it yet, but like I don't think it's gonna be that much of an issue because 260s are comparatively low power and have comparatively big dies, so cooling them really isn't that big of an issue. As you can see, 32 degrees after 1 hour of just being under load, admittedly at stock settings, but yeah. And I have delidded the card, so 200 series, just like 400 and 500 series, they have an IHS on them, just like a CPU, and you can remove that IHS. Usually that breaks compatibility with the stock heatsinks, but these universal water blocks, they don't care, you can put them on without using the IHS, which is what I've done, and that gives some more cooling headroom. And then as for mods on the card, this also goes for the red card right here, you can see this one's also delidded, has the screws in it already, and also has the volt mods. Yeah, so I'm using the Elmer EVC for volt modding. That's also why you can see the voltage reading in the other page. And yeah, so we can overvolt and monitor our voltage using the Elmer EVC. Let's put the fan back on there because it's getting kind of warm. And yeah, so that's the setup. And why don't we get started? So let's get back to the main page. Everything should be in order. And let's just start. I first want to figure out what the memory on this can do. Because, like, yeah, I'm pretty sure if I set 1300, oh, it goes to 1320 actually. If I set this, I'm pretty sure the card is going to crash. So let's just make sure that that happens. Yep, it crashed. Okay. So, oh, it really hangs. I can't even press the reset button. Damn. Yeah, so it is a Samsung card. They, let's press safe boot. Yeah, so the Samsung cards don't do great clocks. It might be that it does really good clocks once we start overvolting. I don't really know. It could be, but well, actually, Tag said he never volt modded his card, so it might well be that the Samsung modules start overclocking really well once we start cranking the voltage, especially because this one only runs 1.9 volts, which I should have taken into account. No, I don't. I don't actually want him to BIOS. I just want to normal boot. Yeah, maybe we should do that. Just set the usual stock voltage for the card. Because as you can see, we only get like 1.991, 1.92 volts. And that's actually at the furthest memory module. Now this thing doesn't drop that much voltage across the memory power plane, which I was kind of surprised by. Yeah, this thing, like at the VRM, you only get like 1.93, which is not a lot of voltage, because usually the cards come at 2.05 volts. So let's just do that. 1.96. You might have also noticed that my Windows is actually in English now. I did manage to install an English ISO. So 0.22. 135. That's close enough to the actual stock voltage. So this would be what you get at stock voltage for the other cards. I don't know why Asus chose to run this at less voltage. I have no idea. I don't think it'll do 1320 now. If it does, this is definitely the card I'm running, assuming the core is decent. But let's see. It's still gonna crash. Wait, what? Okay. It's probably gonna like crash before it finishes though. Well, we know that Samsung modules gave a voltage at least below stock voltage. I'm not seeing any artifacts, which is kind of interesting. Are we actually running 1300? Oh yeah, it's starting to artifact. Yeah, we're actually running 1300, but it is artifacting. Yeah, it is artifacting. This is not gonna hold for very long. It's just gonna like take until the memory chips get a bit hot, and then it's probably going to crash. Yeah, it just crashed. Yay. Oh, that's interesting. This one seems to have a anti-safe mode BIOS on it. Usually if you crash like that, Oh, never mind. Ah, I just went into safe mode. Did it really go into safe mode just now? Just put a load on it real quick to check if it's not just idling. No, okay, it was just idling. That's good. Let's not set 1300. Okay, so that's cool. So this Asus card has an anti-safe mode BIOS on it. So usually if you crash, your card locks itself to 400 megahertz core, 800 megahertz shader, and something like 400 megahertz memory clock. And you like have to restart the graphics driver to get back out of safe mode, which I've been told you can do in Riva Tuner. I just restart my Windows and then it's back. But as you can see, this one's not doing that. The game mod is also not doing that, which makes these cards just a lot like less painful to run because you don't have to restart every time you crash. Okay, so let's try a little bit more voltage on the memory. Let's go to 2.1. One more. Okay, 2.1 volts. Yeah. And now see if we get any improvement out of this. Can we do 1300 now? The main problem with this is that the memory chips do heat up over time, even with the fans on it. And I think, yeah, there's some slight artifacting. Like, just because it's artifacting doesn't mean it's not gonna run, it's just showing you that you are pretty close to your limit. And, like, these modules probably have cold scaling, so if they get colder, they will overclock higher. To a certain extent, if this thing did scale amazingly with the temperature, then there probably wouldn't be that many Hynix cards running Sub-Zero. But, you know, maybe the Samsung cards actually have a chance to do decently in this, because most of the cards, at least in Germany, seem to be Samsung. I have 4 cards and 3 of them are Samsung. So, yeah. One of them's also a 192 core card, so good job, I ended up with one. But it seems to be a bit more stable than the other one. Now, they say Hynix chips go 2.2 volts. I'm just gonna also go 2.2 volts on this to see how far the memory goes. Yeah, and in terms of memory clock targets, I've seen that for like GTX 280s or 285s, a lot of people want to target 1400. I don't know if 260s are capable of doing that. The memory controllers might be weaker, or the memory chips just might be a lower bin. Like, for Hynix cards, it's pretty easy to see the bin. For example, my Gigabyte card, my only Hynix card, has the N0C, or what was it called? Yeah, N0C bin. N0C is rated for 2000 megabits per second or 1000 megahertz, you know, in OS clock, which is just the stock clock. But you can also get like N2C and N3C, which are rated for 2400 and 2600 megabits per second. So if you get N3C, your card is literally rated for 1300 megahertz in MS Afterburner for stock. It might not be running that, but your chips are rated for that. And assuming your memory controller can take it, you should just be able to set it and go. It shouldn't need stress testing, because that's what the chips are rated for. As far as I know, Samsung never had a 2600 megabits per second bin. They might have had a 2400 one. But I don't know how to read their bins on GDDR3. Haven't taken a look at one of the data sheets yet, but the general wisdom for 200 series seems to be that you want an N2C or N3C Hynix card. Okay, so 1300 actually passed. Now we can only go to 1320 on this one, and it's starting to immediately artifact a lot more. 1320 is what the Hynix card maxes out on at stock. And it is very much not happy, I can see. It is, yeah, it's not doing so good. Yeah, it crashed. Let me rearrange some windows on my PC real quick to see better. So we're gonna need more voltage. Let's go to 1.15. Okay, 1.16, that's fine too. That would be fine too. It should still be having 1320 applied, right? Yeah, it does. Still artifacting, might still pass though. So it is a lot of artifacting though. I am not sure if this is gonna work. There might actually be a thing. Oh, that is a lot of artifacting. Yeah, I'm not too sure about this one. Yeah. So like, there's gonna be a lot of testing involved. Oh, it crashed. Okay. Okay. Let's do 2.2 volts. What could happen? Like, what's the worst thing that could happen? 2.2 volts. Here we go. I don't really think we're gonna see that much scaling though. Like, that it does 1300 is already nice. Because that way it might not be completely hopeless. Oh, it just crashed instantly, okay. So, actually this might be due to just the driver being messed up. Maybe we should just restart. Like, sometimes if you crash and then run again, you crash again just because of something that the driver did. So we're gonna test once more at 2.2 volts, but if that doesn't work, then I guess we're gonna write Samsung HDI off as slight voltage scaling, but a lot of not being happy with high temperatures. But that it does 1300 is fine, I guess, because the red card is stuck at 1270 for the memory. So since we now know that these chips scale a little bit with voltage, we should be able to get 1300 working at least. Okay, yeah, I guess we can just use NVIDIA Inspector from here on out, because this thing can set way more memory than we could ever run. So let's try 1320 again and then just leave the rest as is. Wait, did I apply the settings correctly? Oh, I did not. That needs to be 16. Now it's fine. Still artifacting. Yeah, I don't think that was the driver. I think we're gonna crash again. So like, how hot are they getting? It's not too hot. It's like, I would guess like 40, maybe 50 degrees, and it just crashed. Okay, so Samsung HDI, I guess the sweet spot is 1.1 volts. So let's go back hereabouts. That's a bit below 1.1. One more than that. So that, and then 1300 seems to be the sweet spot. So that. Not the best. I don't really think I can improve the cooling much for air and water stage. For Sub-Zero, it's obviously going to be a lot colder, just because the core is cold and the memory chips are the thing right next to the core. We might get higher memory than that, but at least this card. Maybe the game watt is a lot better, but I don't really think it is. So it seems if you have a Hynix card, you might be able to get 1300 working with like thereabouts 2.1 volt. So we have some weak voltage scaling on the chips, not amazing scaling, and they seem to. It just kind of looks like they get too hot and then it crashes. Is what it seems to be. Okay, so I don't actually want to run the memory max out all the time. I just want to test core and shader now. Now we have to test these at the same time because of how the card works. But what I've seen, I want to test if it's at least as good as the Hynix card, because the Hynix card does 725 core and I think 1580 shader. I think that's what it does. Let's get GPU-Z back up. Okay. Is it stuck? Why is it taking so long to load? Oh, it is. Huh. It is very not happy with me. Less shader, maybe? If the core doesn't do 725, then I'm going to be very disappointed. Because then, like... Well, maybe it's gathered voltage, but like... Oh, now we're in save mode. So, okay, so save mode only trips with core. Yeah, you see how we like stuck it... Actually, you can't see because GPU-Z is in the corner. Yeah, you see that? How it's like stuck? That's save mode, and we just have to restart the card or the system for that. For some reason, the gain watt card doesn't do that. Which can also mean that you can effectively soft lock yourself, because if you apply something that's way too high, it's just gonna stay at that and just continuously crash. Let's check Discord if anyone has like... I don't think there's anything. Like, because we had the option that people could like also bench their 260s right now and then like share what kind of things they are getting. I guess it's a bit early. I don't think many people have their cards yet because the comp started 2 days ago and it's going until the end of February. But yeah, just gonna check Discord if anyone wants to like share their scores. Okay, so actually for core we could just use MS Afterburner. That's a bit more convenient with the profiles. You just have to use NVIDIA Inspector if you want to go above 1320 memory. Okay, so 725, and then let's just do 1500 flat. Let's just save that as a base profile. Those are the correct settings. That immediately crashed. So this core is bad. This core is really bad. Like, at stock voltage, which is 1.12 volts, the gain watt card was doing 780 and like 1620 shader at stock voltage with the same cooling that this card has right now. So this thing sucks. Like, this is worse than the Gigabyte card on its blower heatsink. So yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I guess restart and let's just pump voltage. Let's see what happens. The card is bad. There's no harm in blowing it up. Um, I just want to listen and learn for now. Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so let's just do 1.2 volts. Actually, we should wait until we're back in Windows because it's like in the boot up state right now. I did get a Discord ping. Oh, Tomi's building his 260. What's your best in the stream right now? My best currently is nothing, because I'm not running core and memory at the same time right now. I've just discovered that this card's memory might not be hopeless, but the core very much is. So now what I'm doing is I'm just gonna put a load on it to make sure we are at max 3D voltage. I'm gonna set 1.2 volts and see what happens. So put load on it, and we are at like, yeah, pretty much exactly like 1.12 volts. That's stock. Let's see what the increment is on this. So the increment is 20 millivolts ish. No, more like 10. I don't think the VRM is going to blow up on this, because like this card is probably one of the cheapest Asus cards that they had. There we go, 1.2 volts. Maybe it doesn't suck now. Let's see. You don't have core shader, you only have core. You need to use the MS Afterburner original V2 layout, because that one shows shader instead of power limit. So like, if you go in MS Afterburner, go to settings, user interface, you need to use this, the V2 skin. Because the V3 has the like power limit, and V2 shows shader. Do you have PCB pictures of your Zotac card? It's just the reference card. Like, it's just the refresh reference card, the one that has the capacitors that blow up, apparently. I might test that, I just don't have it volt modded yet, because it's 65 nanometer and also a 192 core, so it's basically useless. Like, I guess I'm gonna do some tests with that card and then turn it into an e-power, because there's really no use. It's also a Samsung card. You should look at stream chat. I am looking at stream chat right now. The one with 6 inductors? It technically can have 6. I can just show it. Like, let's just do this. I have it on my desk. This one, this is the Zotac card. So it can technically have 6 phases, it only has 4. This is what it looks like on the back. If you see a card that looks like this on the back, it is the refresh reference PCB, and yeah. The 260s usually only have 4 phases out of 6. You can find it out by just counting the driver ICs on the back. You can see the 2 middle driver ICs are missing. That way you can see how many phases it actually has. And these red capacitors right here apparently blow up if you go above 1.25 volts. So that's gonna be fun. I might test that, because the card is bad. It's a 192 core. I tried my best with it and maxed at like about 1500 score, which is about 200 less than my personal best before the comp started. Okay. Tommy got 1348 points. That's not super high in the score. I think I've seen a 1400 already. Let's go back to main. Yeah, like, I wanna test, like with 260s, I really wanna focus on the memory, because you can always just jam more voltage into the core, but your memory chips might just top out. So let's see, speaking of 750, because that, no, actually let's 725, 1500. It can't be that bad, right? Okay, it's not crashing. It is not that bad. Just, I keep forgetting that you can't see that one corner. I should do this. well, actually MS Afterburner is kind of useless in that point, but like if this doesn't pass, then the card is going to become an E-Power. Because the VRM seems fine. It's just that if the core is just that bad, like at 1.2 volts, my gain watt does, I think, over 800. And I think we should just get onto that card. Like, I'm gonna max this one out and see what it does. But I have a strong feeling that this card is not as good. Yeah. And I mean, it is kind of true like that. So, who was it? I think it was Nachtfalke on HWBot Discord. Like, that person did a lot of binning for 260s apparently, and the this one, the red one from Gainwater Palette, apparently is consistently the best. So there's something about the PCB that they did that makes it just clock way better on core. And it is the best core I have. Like the Gigabyte does what I'm running right now. This thing, at least when it's overvolted, is on par with the Gigabyte. At stock, it's much worse. And the Game Watt is doing like over 800 core, I think, at this voltage. So I'm just gonna test if this thing doesn't have an amazing core or whatever. And like sometimes the cores are really good. Like this can still be a good core. Like cards that suck at stock voltage can be really good when they're overvolted. That's like, I think that's like a high leakage core where it just needs a lot of voltage to clock well. And then there's like the low leakage cores that do pretty well with low voltage but might not actually get that much extra clock from voltage. And then there's of course also the part for 200 series where your shader clock tends to negatively scale with voltage. So you give it more voltage and your shader gets worse. At least, I'm not entirely sure for how many cards that goes. Or like if it's just for a certain temperature range. But I can say that my red card has a shader that scales positively with voltage. And this one, well, we are about to find out. The other two cards I haven't overvolted the core yet. So the highest core speed is like 810, I think, on the Gainward card. And in terms of points, 1707, I think, is my personal best. I did that one day before the comp started though, so I can't sub it. Okay, 1444 if anyone wants to write down the score. That seems about realistic for a card that doesn't have, like, we can do like 1200 memory just to boost the score a little bit. But okay, it at least does 725 now. 756 then. From what I've seen on the cards is, why is it not a... Oh, because the shader's too low. Yeah, so we need more shader to actually have more core. Let's restart benchmark. Yeah, so like that's the shader conundrum in action. You can't increase your core clock if your shader is like it's hard to explain. Like, your shader is twice your core clock at least. Your shader cannot be less than twice your core clock. So it's 725 plus 725 is 1500. So I cannot go higher than 725 core if I run 1500 shader. So Yeah, and because on some cards there's tails of shaders that scale negatively with voltage, but cores that scale positively with voltage, there's like that sweet spot range that you need to hit in terms of voltage, where like they don't limit each other, but are like the highest clocks that they can both get. Um, yeah. Like so far this seems to scale with voltage. I don't know what we crashed at stock voltage, probably the core. Like from what I've seen is the core scales pretty well with voltage generally, and then the shader is like the thing that tends to be problematic sometimes. And apparently you can also do things like modding the PEX voltage on the card to get your shader a bit better. I don't entirely know how that works, if it's just like Fermi, like you undervolt your PEX and then suddenly your core gets better. Um, but yeah, like there will be a lot of testing. I have the next 2 weeks off. The only thing I will be doing is like visit family over Christmas, and then the rest I can just do whatever I want. So I guess I'm gonna do a lot of testing for this. Um, yeah, but like so the main things you want with these cards is, first off, you want good memory, which usually means Hynix H2C. And second of all, you want a good shader, because core clocks don't really seem to be that big of an issue. Like, the cards are pretty similar. Not similar. What am I talking about? They are easy to cool, even on the air cooling stage. Um, they are very easy to cool. They don't put out a lot of heat. I would have my PMD reading up right now, but for some reason my Windows had something to say about the software and it didn't work. But I can wait until it cycles by on the little OLED display that it has. And if I remember correctly, this thing only draws like 50 watts through the two 6-pins. Like, that's not a lot of power. Now where it's overvolted, it's gonna draw more. Yeah, apparently the total power, which is GPU plus CPU, yeah, okay, so it's 75 watts. PMD says 75 watts. So technically we're using one 6-pin worth of power connector right now. Okay. Oh, that's a 1600 score. That's a pretty decent jump from 1444. We just blew right past 1500. Yeah, like, memory is important on these, and that's only 1200. Let's read chat a little bit more. You got 834 in one run. That is nice. Holy shit, 1600. Yeah, memory clock. Memory clock is very important on these. The other hard thing with 260 is how big the jump are sometimes on core speed. Yeah, like there are very big jumps. Also on shader, like sometimes you get a 50 megahertz jump in shader, and if that doesn't run, then well. Is memory affected much by temperature for this card? I think yes. Like, yeah, because like if you set a clock, then it runs for a couple scenes and then like midway through it crashes, and that just kind of looks to me like you put a load on the card, it gets warm, and then sometimes it gets, at some point it gets too hot and just crashes. Okay, so we got a 1600 score. That is already higher in score than the 192 core card did maxed out. Admittedly, I didn't overvote that one. Yeah, but like the score is not bad actually. So, well, this is the part where we do 1600 shader, or 1584 more like, and then we go 775 or 777 actually. The other card started artifacting once it got close to maximum core clock. So this thing might actually do 800. Maybe the core is not that bad, like maybe this is just a high leakage core. In which case it can actually be amazing. You just need enough voltage. And I alluded to it before, I didn't actually get to talking about it. Like, the VRM on this card, I don't think it's gonna be an issue. Like, it's a 4-phase, like most of the cards. But let me show you the heatsink that this card came with. That's the heatsink. That is the entire cooling solution for the card, like an Intel stock heatsink. And then here's the IHS that I took off the core. That's it. So the memory chips and the VRM on this card have like no direct active cooling on it other than whatever splashes off the PCB from the main heatsink to cool it. Given that I have a high RPM fan right at the VRM right now, and yeah, these are like a bit warm, I don't think the VRM on this is much of an issue, so we can probably just overvolt this to wherever we want, assuming it keeps scaling. Okay, I'm still playing in the 1300 to 1400 range. Yeah, like, a lot of my score comes due to it being Windows 7, me having done some optimizations, and me running the LOD tweak. Like, without that, I would probably also be in the 1400s. Are you running stripped Win 7? No. This is just a normal Win 7 Pro ISO. You got 810 to pass, 1.175. Oh, you're running your 65 nanometer card. Ah, that's smart, because those have like actual working software voltage control. Like you see on mine, it's just grayed out. GT's 1030 have better heatsinks. Yeah, a couple have. How did I delete the card? I do actually have a video about that. It's where I do it to a Fermi card. So my usual deleting solution is kinda janky. It basically just involves me taking the like blade of a box cutter knife, jamming it in between the core and the IHS by hand a little bit, and then using like a screwdriver and like gently tap it until it goes in far enough so that I can just bend the blade up and then the IHS comes flying off. You have a high chance of accidentally knocking off components of the PCB if you don't hit the blade right. So it is kind of risky. I've never killed a card doing it, but I have seen people kill their cards doing that. Then again, I don't really know any other ways to delete the cards. Other than like, maybe you could like jerry-rig a delete tool. Okay, 621. Yeah. Like compared to the massive jump we got from those 200 megahertz memory. Well, we're not increasing the core by that much, but yeah. Like core clock still matters, but memory is way more important. So 1620 should be the next shader step. It is. That means actually we can just go to 810. So it's now on par with my gain ward card on core, with a slight overvolt, I think. So this might not be so bad, because it's not artifacting. I think the gain ward was starting to artifact at above 800. Yeah, 260s don't draw much power. Like even 180 watts, like given that the PMD shows 75 watts through the two 6-pins, which is literally half their rated power, like 75 watt is one 6-pin, and we have two. Assuming it does the same thing to the PCI Express slot, which is also rated for 75 watts. Like, we're just barely drawing 100 watts total card, with it being overvolted and overclocked. Actually, I don't know. Well, actually for this card, I'm pretty sure the, yeah, I'm pretty sure, at least for this Asus PCB, the two 6-pins power the V-Core VRM, and then the PCI Express slot does everything else. That's like memory VRM, the little I/O chip, and that's pretty much it. There's not that much on this PCB. Just because of how the input inductors are placed on this thing. This card, by the way, also has fuses, which is interesting. Like Asus used to put fuses on a lot of their cards. They don't do it anymore these days, which is funny because currently their cards blow up, and those old ones didn't. Yeah. Would have been cool if the 780 Ti Matrix or like their 290X cards had fuses. That would have saved a lot of holes in PCBs. Tommy's trying again when it's colder. Like, are you on water cooling right now? Doesn't go to 834. Pretty sure it's heat issue. So yeah, on water cooling, okay. Like, yeah, like this is the point where you probably want to overvolt, like past the stock level. Because even if it's getting a bit hot, sometimes just jamming more voltage actually works. Like, we are 2 degrees hotter now than we were on the sustained just stock clocks. It's at 1.2 volts. Yeah, I mean, so are we right now. And your card's technically a little faster if it, like, well, we're going to see if this one does 834. I am a bit hopeful for the core, because it's not artifacting at all right now, which is a good sign. So this card might not be too bad. It's probably just a high leakage core. 35 degrees water. I have no idea what my water temperature is. Probably below that. Given the giant radiator set. Yeah, the fittings are cold. Okay, 1647. I wonder if we're gonna ever hit 70 FPS. Sub-Zero probably. Okay, so it does this. Let's save that. And I always think it crashes when it like goes past that one island in the beginning. 834, but we need more. I don't know what the next shader step is. Not that. Is it actually like 1680 or something? Oh, it just crashed. Okay. Yeah, so we have a shader problem. Let's restart this and give it more vCore. Oh, not water temp, core temp and water. I mean 30, like we're at 34. It's like same. The thing is, because you're running a 65 nanometer card, there might be some differences in just how it scales to the 55s. Like I've been told the 55s, specifically the 103B3s, overclock better. This is a 103B3 that I'm overclocking right now, and so is the Gainwatt card. But yeah, but like, we seem to be running similar voltages, similar clocks, similar temperatures so far. Okay, let's start the bench again, get a load on it, and now what do we do? 1.25? Maybe we blow some capacitors on this thing too. Let's get everything set up. Like, I'm not entirely sure what I'm willing to go to in terms of voltage on this. Probably 1.3 at least. Okay, so it's under low. Let's overvolt it a bit. Where's... Here it is. So that's 1.22. So another 2 steps should be 1.25. And one more. Okay, that looks good. Windows without the driver, but nothing with the driver. Display signal keeps picking up and then disconnecting. Goddamn. Z690 issues could be, or the card is dead. If it's crash on driver install, then the card might just be dead. But yeah, like, I've heard some people complain on newer platforms. Like right now, like I'm running a 9 Apex, which is technically Z270. This is fine. But I've heard from people over time that like platforms newer than Z390 have issues with older cards. And specifically, I remember Z590 wouldn't run Fermi cards at PCI Express 2.0. It only ran those at 1.1. Okay, let's load this. Is 1680 actually like... What is the next step for shader? 1656, okay. So... What can we apply in terms of core? 828, okay. It's not artifacting. So we have a shader that scales with voltage, which is good. It might just be a temperature thing, but I've had a lot of people tell me that shaders don't scale with voltage, and this one does. So in case of it being actually the norm that shaders don't scale with voltage, I have a pretty good card here. But I can totally see it like being only a thing on like the 65nm cards or whatever. Dell has a GTX 260 with 240 cores and 1.75 gigabytes. 240 cores is just... 240 cores is what a 280 has. And then 1.75 sounds like they just doubled the VRAM. That's a... yeah, that's like a weird card. That's also not allowed for the comp. You're specifically only allowed to use 216 and 192 core cards. Where can I get Windows 7? Specific places. I can't really tell you. I just ask around on like Discord servers for anyone who has it, and sometimes you get sent a link. So could you stop being better, please? No, I will not. Seems I'm going to have to unborrow my H87 system to test. Yeah. Could be. Like, one of the best ways to cheese your score higher might actually be to just get an LGA 775. Because there's this Windows 7 Superlight thing. Like, if you Google for it, there's this Windows 7 Superlight SP1 installer that's only like 600 megabytes. That thing runs on LGA 775 motherboards, and it is like, that is like a proper stripped Windows 7. I've not managed to get it working on any newer platforms, so this right here is just a normal Windows 7 that I manually like did some tweaks to. I did make a video about that if you wonder what it is. Yeah, so like, because that Windows 7 is stripped, like it doesn't have antivirus or updates running in the background, which it does here, you might get a substantially higher score on that Windows 7. But it only runs on like really old platforms, which shouldn't really be that big of a problem. Like I tested with my LGA 775. I had a dual-core CPU in that, and it like didn't lose any score compared to my 8700K here. So, yeah. Looks like Tommy's 260 has maxed out. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I suppose you can only try like more voltage or more cold. 1670 score, 66 FPS, that is nice. Yeah, DDR2 should be fine for drops. Like, I also only had a DDR2. I recently got a DDR3 board and then found out that thing is trash. But I have a DDR3 board now for like, that I'm going to use for nothing but CPU-Z validations. Yeah, but you should be able to just use LGA 775 for this. You shouldn't lose any score. Okay, are we gonna be able to get to more without increasing core counts? Okay, 1674. That's... and it crashed. Okay. I guess we all know what that means. Actually, we have to restart first to make sure we're like getting the correct voltage level. That means 1.3 volts. You need to find a way for better VRAM cooling. The only thing I can really think of is like taping little heatsinks on it for like Raspberry Pis, which I was thinking about. Like, given that the Samsung RAM might be rather temperature bound, that might actually be worth it. Because like in terms of air cooling, like the two fans I have at them, like both of them are pretty high RPM. They move a lot of air. Yeah, I can't really do that much more than that. 1330 sounds like Hynix chips. Is your 65 nanometer to 60 Hynix chips? I think it is, right? Okay, so card is under load and we will go 1.3 volts. Good thing about the fuses on the card is it's not going to catch fire if we blow it up. Not that it should blow up, like the 4-phase on the gain rod apparently can handle 1.6 volts. So this can probably too. How long do you plan on streaming? Until I get bored, basically. Like I wanna max this card out, and if I think the gain rod can do more, I will run that too. So I guess for like 4 hours max maybe. Not entirely sure. Just like, you know, just chill a bit. It's basically the idea, because otherwise this would have become like a 4-hour video that no one would ever watch. Okay, 1670 shader, 1674. That means like 832 core. What is that? Oh, 837. I am bad at math. Or more like I'm bad at doing math in my head. Seems to be working so far. I'm also pretty sure if we ran the test without any of the like monitoring things on, we would already be at like 1700 score. I should tell people about the LOD that you tested. So, what are your findings that you... So like Tommy did a bunch of different LOD levels and tested the score. And I think you found that like after level 6 it doesn't change anymore, or what was it? Like I'm running level 15 right now. Or like still running level 15, I haven't changed it. Which, I mean, if as long as it doesn't get worse after level 6, you could just set that and still get like good score. It would be kind of cool, like if you can give me like the raw data, I can make like a graph out of it, and then sometimes you see things that you don't see in just the numbers. Test from 1 to 20 in 1 increments for 3 runs each for stable scores and no scaling past 6. Okay. Yeah. So I guess LOD 6 is the thing you should test then. I mean, as long as it doesn't get lower after 6, you can still set something higher. But apparently 6 is just where it's maxed, I guess. I'm also seeing like now where it's actually running the benchmark, it's going to like 1.28, 1.27 even sometimes. Like that is a thing with Tropics, is if you don't focus the window, your GPU usage goes down a bit. So you see how it's like pinned at 99% right now? If I would click off the window, it would go down to like 92%. So it draws a little bit less power, which means that there's a little bit more voltage. It's because our losses aren't that high. So you only saw like really small differences from LOD. That's kind of weird because I saw like a rather big one. Like way more than just 5 score. Or do you just mean that's the margin of error after 6? Okay, it looks like we're about to finish at 8:37. Still no 1700 though. Still no 1700, but we got a bit more core out of it, and if you remember, we did do 1300 mem once, it was just very sketchy. Okay, can we do one more shader before we... Okay, that doesn't change anything. I don't know where the next step is, so I'm just gonna go in... Okay, 1692. That... Oh, it already said 846 core, okay. It's not immediately crashing. So... That's good, I guess. Like, if the game mod card does 1.6 volts, I'm happy to... yeah, it crashed. I was gonna say, I'm happy to run 1.4 volts into this. And looks like we're gonna be doing that. Let's actually restart again. Oh, 5 is the margin of error, okay. Yeah, you don't really need to restart after LOD, I never do that. But, like, it of course makes the data, like, you know, it can't hurt. Benching the game mod card is gonna be a lot faster than this, because we don't need to restart every time. Like, that alone is why I would prefer that card, and then on top of that, it apparently appears to be consistently just really good. Like, once the month is over, because I kind of spent all the budget I had already, once the month is over, I will be trying to get one of the red cards with Hynix memory on it. Okay. So, 1.35 volts. No, I mean, it's kind of touching 1.35 sometimes, but I would want one more, please. That's a bit more consistently around 1.35. Kind of an out-of-place question for a fresh viewer like me, but I still have an Aqua Computer water block for the 260. Never used because it didn't fit. I'm not in need of selling it, but if you know someone who's instead maybe come. I don't really know someone who specifically needs a water block like that. You can just put it on eBay. Someone will find something. Like, that's where I get my stuff from, just eBay. The main problem with like, I assume that your water block is like a full cover one. The main issue with that is that there's a lot of different GTX 260 PCBs, and most of them use the exact same blower cooler, so you can't even really tell what PCB you're getting, and then it's just like random chance, random chance like whether your card fits or not. Okay. It's going down again under load. Push one more. I wonder if this is due to like LLC or if it's just because of losses from high power draw. Oh, Tommy got 1500 score, that's nice. Yeah, like I think if you want a good score on this, uh, I I haven't specifically tested what the difference between a good Windows 10 and Windows 7 is. I would think that there's probably a bit of a difference, and a stripped Windows 7 is probably even better. It does definitely help to have software optimizations for this. Um, but like, yeah, like the main score booster for these cards is always memory. Like just memory. And then the next easiest score booster is things like LOD and just like the easy performance tweaks in Windows, and then just like core. Shader clock doesn't really give you that much score, but you just kind of need to increase shader clock in order to get your core clocks up. Because of that limitation where it can't be less than yeah, shader clock can never be less than 2 times your core clock. Have you tried any of those Chinesium 19-watt water pumps? I have one of them. Like, my second test bench uses one of them. Der Bauer made a video where he tested an AliExpress water cooling kit. That pump from that kit is what I have. And actually, it's basically on par with my AlphaCool DDC pump. Like, it doesn't have a reservoir attached to it, but in terms of how much water it moves and in terms of like the temperatures you get, it's like the same. And that water pump was only 15 euros. There's like a lot of different water pumps on AliExpress though, and some of them might suck real bad. So like, try to get the one that Der Bauer got in his kit thing. That like, it's like basically an aquarium pump with like an acrylic block that has like 2 G1/4 threads on it. So my score to beat is 1600. I mean, uh, I, if you want to beat me, I think I just got like a 1674, was it? 1681 now. We are beginning to get some artifacting in the Windows, but it's still running. It's still running. If we're gonna have to keep increasing vCore every time we up the shader 1 bit, we're gonna like quickly run against the limit here, but let's see. That doesn't change. $17.28, okay. So that would be like 850, and it's immediately dead. More vCore. There's so much air, my loop, it looks like a milkshake. Yeah, that's the problem when you have a loop that doesn't have a reservoir. You kind of just never get rid of your air bubbles. You just kind of need to bleed it in like a water bucket for a while. Like my secondary test bench doesn't have a reservoir either because it uses that AliExpress pump. I just filled like a bowl with water and had the tubes like open inside of that, and then just left it running for like an hour for the bubbles to get out. Passing with artifacts is, yeah, it's okay as long as your score is higher. Sometimes on like newer cards you hit some error correction where the GPU sees that something's wrong and it asks the memory to send the data again. Then you can actually lose score. But yeah, like passing with artifacting is just fine. As long as your score is higher in the end. Okay. What are we going now? 1.4 volts? I think 1.45 is gonna be the limit, just because past that you generally don't tend to see any more scaling on water cooling. So, yeah, we're going 1.4 volts. So that 1.38, and then 2 more should be 1.4. Almost. Okay, 1.4 volts. Okay. Even 1.41, that's good because it's gonna drop once we apply the setting again. No, that was a nice artifact. So 1728 was the shader. And 850 core is what it immediately crashed it. Oh, it's actually applying 860. Okay. And I am seeing artifacting now. Yeah, we are reaching limits here. GPU temperature still looks mostly fine. Yeah, but we are getting artifacting here, like... If this doesn't pass, I just go 1.45 volts and then see what it does, and then I'm doing a score run. Oh, look, it is not happy. Oh my god. And it crashed. Yeah. I mean, 830 to 860 is kind of a big jump. So restart 1.45 volts and just see what it maxes at. And then I'll consider the card maxed out. Okay. How's the VRM doing for heat? It's fine. That is fine. I don't really think it actually cares about the extra voltage, which is good, because we can just do 1.45 without consequences. Okay. Let's see if it works. So, apply that. Oh, that is interesting. We have reached negative scaling. So that's not so good. So, yeah, it appears that our shader is now negatively scaling with voltage, which probably is the thing that I was warned about. Maybe this is where that PLL tweak comes in that I heard about. I'm gonna try it one more time, maybe it was just something weird, but I have a feeling that the extra voltage just made our shader worse. Like, it could be a thing like, how is it? On like HD 7770s, if you want more core clock, you have to increase your, I think, VDDCI voltage at a certain point. it could be same here. Like maybe it's if you want more shader clock, while increasing V-core, you also have to be increasing like your PEX voltage. Maybe that's what I heard about. And it appears that we are just now at the voltage level where the difference between the two becomes too big. So if I apply this and it crashes, yeah, it's like artifacting already. It didn't do that before. Like if I now set like 720, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be dead almost immediately. Yeah, we are in safe mode. It just went to safe mode. Okay, so we're going back to 1.4 volts. So that was like 280, I think. No, that was 1.35. Oh wait, never mind. It's in safe mode. Ah, voltage is all offset. This is why we restart. $1540. That looks good. I think your main issue with score might either be memory or just your OS, since you are on Windows 10, right? Like you just said, you ran at 1200 mem. You want to have more than that. Okay, so let's see what voltage we were actually at, and set 1.4, and then just run our peak there. Yeah, so this is 1.45, and it's actually artifacting at stock. That is interesting. Yeah, so that's what we had. Okay, so let's do that. So that's interesting. I wonder if the other cards also like stop scaling at thereabouts voltage. So the question is now, did we... Yeah, 840. Did this? No, it did not pass. It just went to safe mode. Is that just because we had the voltage too high? I think 846 passed, right? Why am I remembering this wrong? Like, I usually only save profiles when they pass. One thing I'm wondering is, like, how hot does the memory VRM actually get? It's also, like, not very warm. Because I remember the, on the Gigabyte card, the memory VRM is actually the thing that got the hottest on the entire card. Because the Gigabyte card has a very strong V-Core VRM. It's basically what this card has, and then +1 high side and +1 low side MOSFET for each phase. Okay, so this... It artifacts again. Why is it doing that? Was it... What happens if we set like 1300 memory now? Oh boy. It did not like that. Okay. I kinda expected this. We just have to restart again now. Yeah, Yeah, so I saw this before on some other cards. If you're really, really maxing out your core and you increase your memory clock, you tend to crash, even if your memory can do it. So, because memory clock is so important on these cards, I will be prioritizing memory clock over core. So, I'm gonna go down on the core clock a bit. Uh, Actually, we could also like lower V-core then a bit, maybe. Maybe 1.4 is still causing some issues. But instead of doing 846, I'm gonna do 830 on the core. And then hopefully it will do 1300 memory. So I'm gonna do, what was it, 1674? Yeah. And then 1300. Does that work? Oh, no. Or maybe the memory chips just got way too hot after this entire session. That could also be a thing, that they like just... No, the memory chips are pretty cold actually. Well, we get to restart again. This is gonna be a theme. The problem is, I tried flashing the gain watts BIOS onto other cards, and it doesn't work. It causes artifacting at stock clocks. So I can't just put the gain watt BIOS onto the other cards to prevent having to restart every time. It's really fun to be benching at the same time. Yeah, that was mainly the idea of this. Yeah, 260s, you should delete them. Even if you will be running the IHS with your cooler, just replacing the thermal paste that's under the IHS will help, because like these cards came out when, like 2008? That thermal paste is ancient and should be replaced. Okay. It sort of dawns on me right now that we might have shot ourselves into the foot, or like I shot myself into the foot by not running the memory at 1300 from the beginning. Because the idea is, if I run the memory maxed out, I might just crash a couple times due to memory and then not notice that it was actually just memory. So I'm gonna go down all the way to 1620. And that still doesn't work. I'm pretty sure it's just the memory not doing 1300 now. Like we could try a cold start. I'm just gonna save this as a profile. I'm just gonna shut it down completely and maybe it helps. Because like it's not heat, like the memory chips are cold. Just gonna do that. And wait until the fan stopped turning. I don't really see how this might help, but it might. Oh, these actually came out 2008. Huh. Like 2008, that's 14, almost 15 years ago. That's like an entire teenager's life. That's how old the thermal paste under those IHSs is. Okay, if it doesn't do it now, we might not be able to do a full score run. Like, that is kind of a thing. Like, if you talk to some extreme overclockers that just do it a lot, like do it for a living, like Kingpin, for example. Like he says, yeah, that is not working. It's just not. Didn't actually go to save. No, we did go to save mod. Ah. Yeah, okay. So that 1680 something. Let's have that be the personal best. I don't want to keep restarting this. I'm setting up the game mod card. Okay, this is gonna be a bit interesting. Let's move this here, and I'm gonna have to put my microphone down somewhere. Let's tear this thing apart. I'm gonna need a few minutes off screen to swap the water block. And also I need to disconnect the EVC. Okay. Oh, I just lost the screw, damn it. Okay, it's here. Then quick disconnect. One of the quick disconnects doesn't completely seal and always loses some water. Okay, here's the back side of the card. Oh, and the hot glue broke, right. Anyway, I'm gonna swap the water block now. I don't have a camera set up for that, so I'm just gonna do it right now. You're not gonna be able to see much. And let's hope that the gain watt card does a bit better. Like, I am expecting at least the same out of the core. To be honest, I'm expecting a bit more. And then the memory, well, I never overvolted the memory on the gain watt, I think. So these super long screws don't really help a lot with swapping water blocks really fast. Okay, that's 2 out. Okay, water block is off. That was pretty good pressure. Like, look at that mount. Like, that was pretty good even pressure, if you ask me. So it wasn't the mount, at least. I can blame the card. Okay, game mod card. Here it is. I should probably put on new thermal paste. That's usually good, I've heard. Where is my little thermal paste? There it is. So, where did I put the tube? There's the tube. It's almost empty, so I'm just gonna use everything that's left in it, which is not much. Might actually be completely empty already. Yeah, it is just completely done. Where's the other two I have? Here's the other two. open up my last 2 tubes of GD901. Okay, just put some on there. Until I get the block back on. Okay, let's tighten these down a little bit more and then we should be good to go. Okay, blocks on the card. Where's the slot? There it is. Okay. Nice thing about the game mode card is you can retain the base plate even when the core's delidded. Like the block just fits through that. Sadly, you can't reuse this plate on the other cards because the like display I/O chip on this card is located a bit lower than on the others. So it doesn't fit. Ground connection. It's right there. And then power. Oh yeah. I remember I wanted to fix this and then I didn't because those cables they tend to slide out of the contacts. So white wire is core control, which is yellow on here. Yeah, this has no retaining force. That is bad. I might have to tape this on. And then here yellow is sense and orange is control. And the UVC, brown is control. So orange goes to brown. Yeah, it already fell out. All of these don't seal. Oh my god. This is gonna be awful. They just fall out. The USB cable isn't that long. So, yellow goes to white. It just doesn't seal at all. That one doesn't want to go in. Why does that one not want to go in? Okay, I'm gonna find some tape. And just glue this. You stay. that should work. Then it would be good if we connected the water cooling as well. And then the fan. And the big fan. Good. Hopefully this works. Well, we get a sense oh, it's at 1.5 volts. Yeah, I should have reset this. That would be helpful. We could have just killed the card right there. If that, like, would have shot 2 volts into the core, it would have been gone. Okay, let's check up with chat. Quite a lot of stuff happened in the chat while I was doing the thing. Told me about 1540 points. Or did we have that? Oh, we already had that. Yeah, you definitely get the best scores at the beginning of a benching session. Just because the card is like still cold and stuff. And the screw is gone forever. Actually not. I have had screws that have been gone forever. But I found this one. 250 mAh. That sounds like average Samsung. It is so refreshing seeing normal thickness GPUs. Yeah, if I remember correctly, those cards were like really big for their time though. Like 8800 GTs and GTXs were not that long, I think. Need tape off a few users, yeah. Yeah, like connectors are not very good. Any thermal tape to recommend? I just got random thermal tape off of eBay and it seems to work. The MOSFETs, you can't just use generic ones. There are specifically like MOSFETs for high side and low side operations and stuff. I can't really give a good example, there's just too many. But you can't just use generic ones, they will be awful. $1570 points. Oh, you're getting closer. Yeah. So now we have the gain ward card. So yeah, gain ward card is in now. So this one's also Samsung. So yeah, I wanna see what the memory does when overvolted. So I'm just gonna go straight 2.1 volts. Because you can see this one is stock at like 2.05 or slightly above that. So let's go just 2.1 and see if it just does 1300 now. That would be cool. Because then definitely this red card is my good one. I still want a Hynix card, but like... Oh, this looks promising. And also, like, this card just has a much better, like, this actually has memory cooling. Which means it's gonna take much longer for the chips to get hot. I'm not entirely sure if I can keep this plate for Sub-Zero though. I might have to replace it. Like, the block just barely fits into that hole. I'm not so sure about my phase changer. I think it's a bit wider than the block. But 1300 mem seems doable. So that's good. So now we have two Samsung H-die cards that show at least some voltage scaling. So yeah, so they do scale with voltage. Just the question is just how much, and like how big is the temperature equation in this. If you want to swap MOSFETs, like as long as you get the same MOSFET, then yeah. But you can't just like take any random MOSFET that fits and put it in and expect it to work. Cause like there's MOSFETs that are fast, there's MOSFETs that have really low radius on, and then there's like MOSFETs that have very high current capability. Like you need the like correct you need the correct MOSFET for the job. So if you're gonna use a different MOSFET than what's already used, make sure it's like better at everything or like the same. So like usually for high side MOSFETs you want them to be like really fast at switching, and then for low side MOSFETs you want like low radius on and high current. It is looking good for 1300 mem. That is pretty cool. Like it's very slightly artifacting, but we can give it more voltage. Yeah, it kind of looks like Roblox with LOD. Especially all the plants are just like, instead of having leaf textures, it's just squares. Okay, so 1300 passes. That's nice. Okay, I'm feeling a bit cocky, so we're going 2.2 volts on this thing. 1.13. There's 2.2 volts. Oh, and it crashed. So you don't want too much voltage then. Maybe 1.15. And then you can see the game of BIOS in action. We are not in save mode. We don't have to restart this. Though, like the other card also only crashed for core, really. Okay, let's see. I don't really have good hopes. Yeah, it crashed. Okay, so it looks like it doesn't really appreciate having too much voltage shoved into it. It also seems to have completely frozen, so we do actually need to reset now. That's a bit annoying. So there's slight voltage scaling in the memory, but if you give it too much, it will just not. It's kind of annoying. Okay, I think we're gonna also max at 1300 on this. So the Hynix cards are still better, even with Volt mod. Like, I don't think 1320 is gonna work on this. Probably just gonna crash. It's not super bad artifacting, but that might just be a heat thing. If it gets warm, then, well. Yeah, Tommy, if your card's a Hynix card, it probably does 1300. I have a 65 nanometer 280 that also does 1320. And it crashed, yeah. The 1320 is not working on Samsung. Yeah, like both the Hynix cards I have do 1320. And so far the Samsungs do not. So you can overvolt them slightly to get to 1300 from like 1260, 1270-ish. But it looks like you're not getting more than that. Maybe like cap modding this will help. That could be a thing. Like it is only a single phase memory VRM, and from what I know, those things are absolutely awful. That runs that. Let's just do it to see if there's any hope of having 1300 mem work with like also core overclocked. Because if this passes, then I'm just gonna keep doing 1300 so that we don't run into a situation like with the Asus card where like it can technically do 1300, but if once we try to get our score, it no longer works because we traded memory clock for core clock, which is not what you want in 260. That's 70 less at faster mem. Like, your memory should be worth more than core. But there might be some edge cases. I also want to note that our core is still at stock voltage, and it's running what the Asus card couldn't. It doesn't matter which Windows 7 you use. You can use Home, Ultimate, Pro, whatever, as long as it's Windows 7. Like, I would almost argue that like Home or even Basic would be better because they just have less things that can run alongside it. Like if you have more background tasks, that takes up system resources that you don't want to spend. Oh, okay. Yeah, 50 megahertz more memory and 70 more points. That sounds pretty good. Or do you mean you lost 70 points? That sounds weird. Because, like, all my cards... Yeah, because all my cards, if you give them more memory, they just go fast. And that seems to be the general wisdom as well. Also, I noticed the core control cable is, like... shouldn't be bending like that. Oh, when scene 10. Like, it is artifacting, but it looks like 1300 mem is doable. Now I just want to know if it also works at like 800 core. We are already like way above stock level, like the factory overclock on this card is rather high. It's at like 650. Whereas the, I think, actual stock is like 590 for core. 1636 already, and like our core clock is not even that high. Okay, let's just start overvolting the core, because I already know that it at least works fine at like 1.2 volts. So 2 more, that should be 1.2 volts, right? Yeah. Thoughts on the reliability of the PSU tier list? You mean the one on the Linus Tech Tips forums? Like, I don't know, it might be a good source, it might not be. 1620 is like the way it does 810 core, right? Yeah, and it just does. Like, unless the memory has just cut down our core clock a lot, this should just work. And the memory isn't even that much higher. Like, this card does 1269 without overvoltage. So we're like 31, no, not even, because it's 1296 actual, like under 30 megahertz extra. It's not that big of a jump. It is still a jump. So yeah, like let's see what this core does, because I don't think I ever overvolted it anywhere near what we just did on the Asus card. How hot is the VRM on this thing? Okay. Like, this one actually has a heatsink on it as well. Like, this is the one that reportedly can handle 1.6 volts just fine. And yeah, I don't think that... oh, and it crashed. Like, completely locked up. Is it gonna, like, catch itself, or is it just completely gone? I guess it's completely gone. Was that because I touched the VRM, or was that just a regular crash? So, did it just actually crash? Like, was that just a V-core issue? I don't... It should run, but like... Again, we have like way more memory now. Well, not actually that much more, but it's more memory. Why did I start the benchmark? I haven't applied it yet. Now start the benchmark. If this crashes again, then I guess more V-core. Has my room ambient changed since then? Don't think it should have. I actually went up like half a degree. So, because like usually my room remains pretty cold even when I like game on my daily system, which should put more heat into the room than this right now. Wait, your ambient is 16 degrees? That's like cutting it pretty close to the actual minimum that's allowed for the comp. You're not allowed to go below 15 degrees for air and water cooling. Like for your ambient temp. For water cooling, you're still allowed to use like ice cubes in a water bucket, but yeah. Maybe I should just open the windows, you know? Because they've been closed for now. I'm just gonna open them slightly, not fully. Just gonna do that. Now we might have some extra ambient sounds from outside. I hope you're wearing a sweater. I am. Ha! And my ambient has immediately dropped down 1 degree to 20.5, 20.4, 20.2, 19.9. Admittedly, the sensor's right next to the window and my test bench is like a good 2 to 3 meters away from it, but yeah. And now we're up to 20.7, 20.8, 20.9 again. That can't really make up its mind right now. It should make a... Like, I don't think it's a temperature issue, because, like, we're still at 34 degrees. But, well, we are allowed to go all the way down to 15 degrees ambient, so might as well use it. If you don't get a GPU rendering test image, that's normal. Mine also does that. You're missing like some DLL file for it, you need to download that. Usually it should ask you to download it, but for some reason it doesn't on Windows 7. 15 ambient, not core. Like if you have a really good water cooling setup, like 3 moras, then you should be able to get your low temp at ambient. Or close to it, depending on how good your thermal paste is. Oh! Would you look at that? A new personal best. 770. That's the first score of today that's worth saving. So I am gonna screenshot that. So CPU Z, CPU Z, CPU Z, another GPU Z. I'm gonna rearrange stuff a little bit for the screenshot. You're not gonna be able to see everything because of the webcam, but it's for the screenshot, because this is a new high score, and well, I don't think anyone has actually subbed yet, but this is better than my last personal best. So if we don't get anything better today, this goes up on HWBot. So screenshot that, and let's save it. Oh, I haven't. My USB stick's not in. Where is it? Is it this one? It is. Test bench, HWBot, 260 comp, 260 GS, and this is what score was this? 1721. Okay, save that. And now we can close everything again. Okay, like we it's been 2 hours and 5 minutes and we got the first worthwhile score. Let's go. Where's Afterburner? There. Okay. Yeah, because yeah, like my previous best used to be these clocks, but less memory, so it makes sense. Okay, I'm just gonna overvolt it a bit more, and let's keep going. I'm gonna do 1.25. There we go. So what was the next? Was 1674 already the next from 1620? Or was there like an in-between? No, that was 1656. Okay, so 828. Is it actually the maximum, or can it go a bit higher? Looks like it's the maximum. Huh, okay. I just won that. Yeah, so if anyone ever wonders what card you should get the red one. The Gainward Golden Sample or Palette Sonic. Like, it is the best one that I have, and a lot of people say that it is consistently the best card. So, I haven't really done a lot of air testing yet. I did a live stream ages ago where I had this card on air. I don't remember what I did. Less than this, for sure. Like, you could make an educated guess about air cooling. So like right now on water cooling we're at like 33 degrees. So that is a pretty good temperature, but like 260s generally don't pull much power. And they have pretty big dies, like the die of a 260. And I show it right here. Like, that's the core of a 260. That's like between, I think, a 4080 and a 4090 in just how big it is on a 60 class card. So this is a very, very big die, which means that there's a lot of surface area, which means this is actually pretty easy to cool, on top of it not pulling a lot of power. Like, how much does the GPU pull? Like maybe 100 watts, and then the rest is like memory chip power. So these are pretty easy to cool. So even if you're only on air cooling, like even the stock blower heatsinks, like they regularly max at like 55 degrees, even when you don't delit them. So water cooling and air cooling isn't that big of a difference. We mostly have it separated because you can do some funky stuff with water cooling, like we do allow water buckets with ice cubes in it, and that will be a lot better because then your fluid temp can go down to like 7 to 10 degrees, which is like not quite water chiller territory, but like pretty good cooling. And we didn't want to have people on air cooling compete with that, because if someone joins in here and doesn't have a water cooler, what are they gonna do? So that's why we have an air stage. But I think it's mostly gonna be similar. Like, basically this, and then like add another 20 degrees on top of the temperature. That's like air cooling. Are the Zotac cards any good? Mine sucks. So there is one Zotac PCB that looks decent. I don't exactly remember which one that is, but if it looks like this, or specifically if it has this, like look for this region on the back of the card. If it's this, it's a reference PCB, and these ones kinda suck. Also 1736 score. I guess you know the drill. I'm gonna take another screenshot. Because I don't want to fall into the trap of, I can just rerun it later, and then when it is later, the card no longer does the same clocks because it heated up too much. So I am gonna screenshot any score that's better than what we already have, which is probably every single score that we're gonna get from now on. Okay, screenshot that. Save, and this is a 1736 save. Let's close all of that again. And bring Afterburner back. Let's actually see if it does 1670. And then 830 or whatever was the maximum, 837. Let's see if it does that without having to give it more core voltage. I don't see any artifacting. Temperature says 19 degrees ambient now. Again, right next to the window. The test bench is a bit farther away. Yeah, so coming back to the Zotac cards, you should avoid these reference cards. Like, you can easily identify them by the empty pads on the back. So if the back of the card looks like this, it's a reference card. They come in many different cards. Like, because it's a reference PCB, a lot of manufacturers use it. This right here happens to be a Zotac. And the problem with the reference card is, on the front right here, you have these 4 red FP caps, and a lot of people have had these capacitors just blow up when they overvolted their V-Core VRM. And on top of that, this card right here is a 65 nanometer 192 core. So technically the worst thing you could get. So you can get the bad cores on this PCB too. Yeah, unless you know it's a 216 core 55 nanometer and you know that you can replace those capacitors, I would not get this PCB. It does not seem to be that great. So like, if you can get the red one, like the red palette gain ward, there is one Zotac card that has like, I think a 6 or an 8 phase V-Core VRM. It's like a kind of a weird PCB. That one could be good. Like, it could be decent. It, I think, uses a UP6208 controller, which is a pretty high-end controller, actually. So that one might be good. But, like, the only person I know who has it is Tommy, and apparently his card is average. Yeah, nothing exceptional, he says. So, yeah. My Asus Weep one was literally the only 260 I saw for sale. Yeah, like in some countries, these cards seem to be extremely hard to come by, which like really surprised me, because there are so many here in Germany. And like in most things, the German used market sucks right now. Like, if you try to buy like a 980 Ti, be prepared to buy it to pay like twice as much as you do in the US right now. But we do have an abundance of 200 series cards apparently, which I wasn't aware of. I thought these are like super cheap everywhere. So I'm sorry if you have to go through, if you have to jump through a lot of hoops to get one. €30 for a 260 with radiator, pump, and water block. That's pretty good. 1751. Hey, the score keeps going up. What's your LOD? Still 15. I haven't changed it. I have the... Yeah, so the Weeb Asus card is the same one as the Asus card we had before. There's a slight difference. Let me show you the difference, actually. So this PCB is the same that you get on the blower Asus, except for these 3 capacitors. They are tantalums on the blower card, because otherwise the cooler won't fit. But other than that, it's this PCB that you get. Which, I mean, it's decent, I guess. I just happen to get Samsung on it, and the core just seems to be like... The core seems to be alright, but the game mod is better. Like, this card just seems to be better. Okay, let's save the screenshot again. Okay. Can it keep going to 1690? Apparently it can. 1846. Oh, no it can't. Okay. It cannot. So, more vCore. We're doing 1.3 volts. Let's check if it's probably gonna go down once we start load, but we can compensate for that. So what are we at? Well, we're at 1.3 pretty much. In Poland, you have 90 DTIs for less than 100 regularly. Yeah, they cost like 170 here, last time I checked. I don't know why. Same for 1070s. Like 900 to 20 series is just really expensive right now, and then everything else is usually cheap. But like some cards, for example, like, what was it? Like GTX 660s, for some reason, are really expensive here. And have always been. And I don't know why. Yeah, like, it seems that most Central European cards have Samsung HDI on them. Which is a bit bad, because the Hynix chips are just better. It's one of the rare situations where Samsung is actually not the best. Similar to DDR5 right now. Like right now, Samsung DDR5 is just kind of bad. Yeah, 750 Ti's is another one that's like, for some reason, really expensive. Like you can get a truckload of like GTX 580s and 480s and even now like also 680s and 780s. But like try to buy like a 760 or a 660. And you pay like as much or more. Yeah, 1060s are 1050 and 1060 are also kind of expensive here. I got lucky with my 1060. I got it for 30 euros because it was dead. And all that was wrong with it is that there was like 1 liter resistor that burnt out because there was a short capacitor at the 5 volt rail. So I fixed that and then I had a working 1060, which was very lucky. It looks like we're gonna pass. Yeah, this card is just better than the Asus one. Like, the Asus one's decent. Like, one thing that I've been thinking about, since I have my secondary test bench, like the Z170 OC Formula, the i7-6700, I have some Samsung E-Die for the RAM. I have both single and dual rank sticks for that. And then I have, like, my old CPU block, which is actually also like basically the GPU block I have as a CPU block is on the other test bench. The only reason why I'm using the other CPU block on my main test bench is because I lapped that one, and it's better because of that. But yeah, let's save that too. Yeah, like one of the main reasons is why I set up the other test bench is also that like I'm trying to talk my friend into coming in for some overclocking again. He did some cheap ass chips on my test bench as well. And he seemed to like it. He recently asked me if we can do it again. So I was like, hey, I could put together the old test bench now where ASIC has sent some radiators to me, because that was pretty much the only thing I was missing for like another small water cooling loop. And now I have that, so I even have another GPU block that fits on G200. So I'm trying to talk him into coming here and then doing some benching, and he probably is going to get the Aces card. Okay, so now, if this works now, it's just straight up better than the Aces card, and we're like nowhere near the voltage that the Aces card was at. So 1720-ish was the shader, right? Yeah. If this works. Ah, it doesn't. 850 seems just where the core just needs more. Okay. Let's put it back to like 840. Start it again. Like the shader seems to be more fine with 1728. Let's set 1.35 volts. One more. There we go. Oh, yeah, Tommy, if you want a gain watt 260, feel free to get one. Just hope that it's Hynix. I'll just, like, keep selling them until you get one with Hynix. Okay. Time for the part where 850 either works or doesn't. Oh my... Oh, yeah, right, it goes to 860. I don't see any artifacts. This thing just goes. Maybe that, like I don't know what makes these red palette gain watt cards so special. Oh, it crashed. Shit. Okay. Like, I don't know what makes these so special. Why these are apparently so good. Maybe they just, like, don't have a max voltage where you get like diminishing returns. So let's set the voltage higher before it crashes again. We're doing 1.4. So this is where the other card maxed out. If we go higher than this on the other card, it will just get worse. I'm not seeing any artifacting still, but like, it crashed regardless. Like, even if this, like, I want this to pass, at least. I kinda want this. I'm willing to go all the way up to 1.45 if it keeps scaling. And like, I am gonna cap mod this, and like, there will be mods on the card, more than just the volt mods that we have right now. The end goal, well, my end goal right now for, what was it? For ambient, so, well, water cooling probably, maybe possible on air. But my goals for stage 1 and 2 are to get to 900 megahertz core. And then for Sub-Zero, my goal is to get to 1 gigahertz. Those are the current end goals that I have. And as time progresses, I might adjust these. Like, I am expecting to get to 900 at least. Like, we're less than 40 megahertz away from that right now. And I haven't put a single extra capacitor on this board yet, and like, these cards don't come with a lot of capacitance. Admittedly, they don't need that much, but of course you can always load them with more. How to volt mod this card? I don't have one. I will make one, but... Oh yeah, Tag has one, as you've just been told. Yeah, Tag XOC, I think, is his YouTube channel. He has a video about volt modding this exact card. This one's pretty easy. Like, this one doesn't need any, like, unlock mods or whatever. Wonder if it's just pre-binned cores? I kinda doubt it. Because, like, other manufacturers also pre-bin. Like, there is a Gigabyte SoC. Like, my Gigabyte card is technically the same PCB as the SoC, but it's not actually an SoC. It's like the below SoC tier. It, like, physically same card, but the SoC is supposed to be binned and mine isn't. And like, if it was just binning, then you would just have the top model from every manufacturer performing well. But it's specifically these Gainward and Pallet cards that seem to be really good. And it's like Gainward and Pallet, sometimes they make really good PCBs, but generally they don't really care about extreme overclocking. So that one of their cards performs really well is kind of weird. So there must be something about them that makes them better than the rest. Yeah, there is a 260 matrix. I don't know if it's good though. Hey, 1778. We might, if we get like another 1 or 2 steps out of the core, we might get 1800 score. Oops, that's the wrong thing. How long have I been? 2.5 hours. Okay, screenshot. $17.78. Let's save that as a profile and Afterburner too. Save. Okay, now the question is, what comes after 1720? Let's try this. Is that a thing? It is not. 1750? Oh, 1764. Okay. The core just went down. And that immediately killed it. Okay. More voltage. We want more voltage. Oh, it's going to 880. Ooh. Ooh. Please keep scaling. Just please keep scaling. Like, as I was saying, like, maybe that's the special thing about these cards. Maybe they just keep scaling, while the other cards, like, max out at, like, 1.45. Like, yeah. Okay, we're not entirely at 1.45. We can go one higher. But, like, oh. Ah. Okay. I should be careful what I say. Apparently we still have issues with too high voltage, so this might not be the special thing about them. But it seems to be taking it better than the Aces card, because that one was already artifacting at like 1.4. If this passes, I'll be fine. That's 8. Oh, no. It's not working. Okay. So, it looks like we're going back to 1.4. I don't remember, what was that? Was this the 1.4 thing? Yeah, looks like we're going back to 1.4 and then running that. I'm gonna look at chat real quick. So, here's the thing, I've had superb luck with Gainward Golden Sample my 570 with 1040 megahertz. That's really good for a 570. I have a 570 direct CO2, it doesn't even do 900. Yeah. What membrane do I need on the Gainward? You want Hynix. Specifically the N2C or N3C bin, but you can't really tell until you open it up. Like, you don't even know what brand it is until you open it up, because GPU-Z doesn't show it for GDDR3. But you want Hynix. You know if those single-fan Galax 260s are any good? I'm not entirely sure. It might be using that it might be using that refresh reference PCB. Like, I'm gonna show it again. If the backside of the card looks like this, it is the what I call refresh reference PCB, and you should avoid this because those red caps apparently blow up at 1.25 volts. And also, like, my card ended up being a 192 core 65 nanometer. So essentially this card is like a future e-power. Like, the control on it is fine, it's an ADP 4100, but like, because it has that capacitor blow up thing, and because you can also end up with a 192 core on this PCB, I would avoid it if you can. So if the Galax card on the back has this structure on it, avoid it. If it's something different, then it could be good. Like, yeah, it could be good. I don't really know. Like, if you have the option to get a red card, you should probably still do that. And I guess it's time for a score run. Yeah, so like, if you can get a red card, do that, and then if not, you might as well try the Galax. I know Galax had like a really interesting 275 that had like a Volterra VRM. That one was apparently the best 275. But for 260s, that PCB doesn't exist as far as I know. Yeah, buying multiple cards is like pretty much only for those that really want to be good at the competition. Oh, I think I know what Galax card you're talking about. The one that has like the 45-degree memory chips. I have no idea if that's good or not. If you wanna try it, get it, I guess. It's just like, yeah, I don't really know. I wish everyone would just post a GPU-Z screenshot to make sure it's the correct cores and also 55 nanometers. Because even the stickers on the card usually don't tell you what it is. Yeah. What's my CPU running at and RAM? My CPU is an i7-8700K running 5.3 GHz, and my RAM is some single rank B die at 4400, 16, 16, 16, 29, and then some pretty decent subtimings. It doesn't really affect this benchmark though. Like, well, not really is an overstatement. It doesn't affect this benchmark at all, at least in the testing that I've done. I literally ran a dual-core LGA 775 CPU in this test and didn't lose any score. A2 ref is Volterra VRM. Yeah, that's like the 3-phase 65 nanometer one. Okay, ASIC's getting the Galax. Oh, that would be interesting. Let's see what it can do. I was thinking about getting it, but I already have 4 cards, and the only other card that I would consider buying is like more of the red ones to hope and get a Hynix one. I don't know, Tommy, I have 4 cards and I also don't know what to do with them. Like, you can just sell the cards again. Like, that's what most people do. If they want to bin cards, they buy one, test it, and if it's bad, they sell it again. And they do that until they get a good one. Just have to be patient enough to have it, like, listed for a while, because I don't think 260s sell that much. I haven't done any CPU subs with this, no. It's a pretty good 8700K, but it's also not the best. Like, this has liquid metal on it, and the 5.3 is actually not fully stable. Like, it's not Prime 95 stable, and surprisingly also not Minecraft stable. But you can play any other game on it, as long as it isn't Minecraft. For some reason, when the Minecraft, like, window launches, it crashes the CPU at 5.3. And also it doesn't pass Prime 95. It passes like time spy CPU test and like 30 Mark 11 CPU test, which are like kind of heavy, like heavier than Firestrike. But like it's not fully stable. Like 5.2 is fully stable on this. 5.3 is like, yeah. Hey, 1788. I think that's the final score then. The alarms are already. Yeah, an ambulance just came by. Yeah, 1788. That's looks good. I don't think we're gonna get much more than that. I don't think. So I think we're done. Are we? Because we maxed out the core, we found out very quickly that the memory is maxed. So, screenshot taken. 1788. Yeah. I think I'm gonna be content with this. So, yeah, I'm gonna read chat for a bit still. But I think, like, we can't do more on the core because it goes to 880 instantly and that just doesn't work. We hit voltage limit. And the memory is also not gonna do more than that because we found that out very quickly earlier. So the next part for the card is cap modding. I will load this thing with capacitors. And then hopefully we are getting another, maybe 20 megahertz. And yeah. And that would be it, I guess, for the card. So let's read chat for a little bit. So, I'm tempted to go and buy a local XFX Black Edition. Yeah. Funny thing about the XFX cards, I think it was an XFX card. That one might actually be using the red PCB from Paladin and Gainward, because I think I saw a black card, I think from XFX. That way I saw the backside and I was going, wait, that's just the Gainward PCB in a different color. So those cards might actually be using that same PCB. If it is, it might be really good. So like, I can't really show it right now because it's in the system. But if you look up images of the red Gainward and Palette card and then look at the back of the XFX card and it is the same, get that. It is probably pretty good. How long is this comp for? Until the end of February, so 28th. Yeah, was already answered in chat. Doing 5.4 currently on chilled water for benchmarks. Yeah, like I'm on normal water right now. So yeah, would you suggest a capture card? Well, I can suggest the one that I have, which is an EVGA XR1. It's decent, like you're seeing the output from it right now. Like it does 1080p 60 FPS. I guess it's fine. There's also a slightly cheaper version of this that doesn't have like that doesn't do audio. I don't remember what it's called, like XR1 Lite maybe. That one you can get for like 70 euros, and then the normal XR1 I have you get for like 100 or 130. I've had a good time with it. It works fine with NVIDIA and AMD cards. Also takes Intel iGPUs fine. I don't have an ARC card, I can't really test that, but if it takes the Intel iGPU fine, I suppose it's fine with ARC cards as well. There's only one thing, you need to have a proper USB 3.0 connection to this capture card. If you have it on a hub, even if that hub is 3.0, you sometimes get a really, really low bitrate image. And if it's 2.0, you get like even worse quality. So that's like the only thing about the capture card you need to be aware of. So what are the final clocks? Well, you're seeing it right now in GPU-Z. 864 core, 1296 memory, and 1728 shader. So yeah, like around between 1.4 and 1.45 volts, the cards seem to be hitting a sort of limit. They just get really unstable if you give them that kind of voltage. So I guess 1.4 is the limit for like water cooling. And that's just what the card does. I think it would do like 1760 and 880 core if it was like, if it just had a little bit more voltage stability. So I think if I cap mod this, it might run it. So yeah. Oh, there is already a red gain watt that says 216 SP on the sticker. Yeah, that's the one that I have. Yeah, like palette and game watt they listed as a 216 SP. Like pretty much any of the red cards that have like the dual fan heatsink should be 55 nanometer 216 SP anyway. Because if I remember correctly, Tag said that it guarantees a 103B3 core, and those are only 55 nanometer 216 core. Yeah, 864 core is insane. Yeah, we are also at 1.4 volts. So yeah, like it is a pretty good increase over what you get without volt mods. So it does definitely help to have proper volt mods set up. And I mean, yeah, my EVC is a very clean solution. That's also kind of expensive if you don't do volt mods regularly. But I mostly use the EVC just because, you know, I don't have to stab my graphics card with a screwdriver while it's running, and I have a proper graph that just shows the voltage reading, which is also very convenient for the stream. Yeah. I wonder what we get on cheap-ass comp this year. Yeah, I also wonder what's gonna happen. Like, didn't they say they were gonna do 4 rounds in 2022, and then they only did 2? Yeah, I don't really know. I hope they take a slightly more powerful GPU for cheap-ass chips this time. That's like basically what the 260 comp also is. Like it is kind of the same kind of comp as cheap-ass chips, where it's like really cheap to get into, like low barrier of entry. The problem I had with cheap-ass chips is that, like, you see how much memory matters on these cards. Now imagine that memory is the only thing that matters. If I look back at the HD 4550 comp, I had a card that had pretty good memory. Like, I think it did 1150 mem or something like that. And I just got really high into the ranking. I think for some time I was even first place. Just because my memory was really good. It was literally on the stock heatsink, on air cooling. And I was like first place versus people that ran chilled water because my memory was better. And then by the end of the comp, I fell down a couple places because some people got like insane memory, like 1250 or 1300 memory, just one. And I reran my card later on Sub-Zero and got like 300 megahertz more core and got a lower score because the memory chips didn't like the cold as much. Like, I didn't lose much memory clock, but only a bit, and that was already like 300 megahertz core on that is worth less than 20 megahertz memory. That's like my main complaint about cheap-ass chips, because they tend to take cards that like only care about the memory clocks and everything else doesn't matter. Which is like, well, you just need to buy bucket loads of them and then look which has the best memory and then you just win. Yeah, so like, because on these cards, like, you know, memory is important, but everything else matters too. Yeah. Yeah, Fermi would be interesting for cheap as. It probably has similar issues with availability though. I remember people talking that, like, in Canada right now, getting Fermi cards is like really hard. And I can also say for Germany, like 580s, easy to get. Everything else, pretty expensive. Like I I saw a 460 for say for 50 euros, and that was like one of two that were available. So yeah, like the cheapest Fermi card right now is like a 480 or a 580, and if you ask me, 480s are kind of boring to overclock. They don't really scale with much except cooling. So it would have to be 580s, and then 580s are like easy to get in Germany, but really hard in like Canada right now. So people said like maybe 8800 GT for cheap ass. Those could be interesting because you can mod memory timings on them. You can also mod memory timings on these, by the way, as far as I know. Like that is gonna be a thing for the 260 comp. 8800 GTs also have cold bugs, which makes them kinda annoying. Like, I don't know what they're gonna select. I just hope what they select is not gonna be only memory clocks. Because if it's only memory clocks, I will probably not bother. Because just, yeah, I don't want to buy 5 cards and then just like have one that has good memory and then win on air cooling. Yeah, like 8800 GT, I have 2. I tested them Sub-Zero once. Problem is they have cold bugs. Like, if you crash them while they are like below -10 or something, they don't boot back up until you heat them up to like above 0, which is very bad. I wonder if they have a temperature sensor like 260s. Looks like they do. Huh. Yeah, it looks like they have the same temperature sensor as 260s. So that might be fixable. So one thing that I can show, let me put the camera on full. So you see on the 260 right here, this little chip below the memory chip, that is the temperature sensor chip, whatever. Like it manages your different temperature readings that you see in GPU-Z. And I've been told if you go below -30 on these, they bug out. So you're supposed to remove these. So if you go one below -30, you are supposed to remove this chip, and then the card no longer cold bugs. And focus. And it seems that my 8800 GTs have that same chip in the same spot. So if you remove that chip, you might be able to get rid of the cold bug on them. So yeah, maybe 8800 GT. Maybe it's gonna be that. Yeah, so like there's gonna be a few more videos about the 260 comp. Like I wanna find out how to mod the memory timings on them. Like it's good that I have the 192 core card, because breaking it has literally no consequences because it's a 192 core card. But I can still test things like, well, removing the temperature chip that's a known thing. Just like remove it if you want to go Sub-Zero. But like modding the memory timings is one thing I want to find out how to do on these. Because, yeah, modded memory timings, if it's as effective as on AMD cards, that's gonna be a clean plus 20% performance, just modded memory timings. So, yeah. Yeah, I will make a... Well, cap modding... Will I make a video about that? I might make like a long form video, but those are usually the ones that I only like shove into the Patreon only playlist, because they, like, people don't tend to wanna watch them. I could maybe also just do another live stream where I mod the card. That could be an option. I could do that. Just do a live stream for modding it. Or just, like, at least I'll do a video after I modded the card. That's the least I will do. I might do a live stream for modding one of the cards. Like, cap modding is not really that hard. It's just you just solder on a capacitor. The only thing you need to think about is, like, if you get the polarity right, which is just like the marked side is ground on CAN types, and on everything else it's positive. Or like multi-layer ceramics are not even polarized. You can put these either way you want. Oh, did the card just crash? Oh, it did. It just crashed. It lived for a long time. Okay. I can put this again and pretend nothing happened. Yeah. I'm curious to see what other people get in terms of clocks. It's hard to know where we are, as only two have really benched them. I mean, you can just look up HWBot for other benches for 260s and see what they are running. Like, yeah, just like Unigine Heaven, for example. It should be mostly similar to Tropics. Just look that up on HWBot for GTX 260s and see what people are running with what kind of cooling. Then you could have a pretty good idea. So, is there anything else? Yeah, so like with cap mods, just, yeah, like stacking multi-layer ceramics I might do behind the core and the memory chips. One thing that I want to do that I've seen Tag doing is, so you see behind the core, you have this assortment of smaller and bigger multi-layer ceramic capacitors. And then there's like 6 on the outside, like 3 on each side on the outside. You can put like a can type on that. And then the ones in the middle you can stack like multi-layer ceramics on top of. That sounds like a thing I want to do. Then like just stack multi-layer ceramics behind the memory chips and maybe some can types there as well. And then this card is a bad example because it doesn't use through-hole caps. But the gain rod card uses through-hole caps. Like just the legs of the capacitors sticking through the PCB. I'm just gonna piggyback more capacitors there. And then just see wherever I can put another capacitor in and then put it into that. Like, I think I've shown this before. These are all the capacitors I have, so I'm not gonna run out anytime soon. So I'm just gonna put capacitors wherever I can, is basically the plan. And then I'm gonna be looking into like other mods, like memory timing mods, whatever the PEX rail mod is. Like, you see this down here. So there should be power for the little display I/O chip, and there should also be a PEX rail located in that area. So having PEX rail control on these apparently helps with shader clocks, I've heard. So modding that is also gonna be another thing. Yeah, so like there's lots of things to do with these actually that we can still do. Like we have time until the end of February, so yeah. I think the very next thing is cap mods though, and then yeah, I'll do some testing with the 192 core card on memory timing mods, because that sounds like there's potentially a lot of extra score in there if it's any like memory timing mods on AMD cards, because like memory timing mods on AMD cards is the most OP thing you can do, even more OP than the tessellation tweak. So yeah. You can apparently tweak the memory timings using Nibitor. It apparently used to be a thing on some older NVIDIA cards, and some people have said it also works on 200 series. I'm not entirely sure if it actually does, but if it works, then yeah, because like apparently Nibitor just works with 200 series BIOSes, so you just open the GPU BIOS with that and it shows you the memory timings, and you could just edit that and see what it does. So yeah, there might also be memory timing straps like on AMD. It's just gonna be something that I'm gonna have to do research on, and then whatever I find I'm gonna turn into a video, or maybe it's not gonna do anything and it won't be a video. Could also be a thing. Like Maybe it just doesn't work and I was misled. Anyway, I think we've done everything so far. Are there any questions that are left? Because I'm about to close the stream down. I don't exactly know how long the timing delay is for the stream, but I haven't seen anyone else put anything in chat. So, yeah. That's gonna be it for the first stream. So, oh, the sense probe for memory just disconnected, even though we had tape on it. Great. So yeah, our best score. I can show it again, just for people who like see this as a video and then wonder what happened. 260 com. That's the end score. 1788. Oh, and it's cycling through the scores, damn it. Anyway, you just saw it. When's the next one? When I feel like it, basically. I have the next 2 weeks off, like I don't have anything to do except like visit family for Christmas. So I don't think I'm gonna do anything today. Tomorrow, maybe I'll do the cap mods tomorrow. That might turn into a live stream, it might be a video. Depends on how I feel. And I'll make, test things. And then if I find some worthwhile information, I'll make a video about it. So yeah, Tomi thinks it's really fun. I think it's really fun. Yeah, so thank you everyone for making it this far, for watching, and I would say, yeah, until next time, goodbye.